Alright guys, so do you need a barley crusher? And the answer is not really. Should you get a barley crusher? Definitely. And I shall present my reasons now. It depends on the homebrew shop that you get your supplies from. Some will offer you a range of crushes from uncrushed to crushed to fine crush. Others crushed or uncrushed. So the benefits of being able to crush your own grain is you can get uncrushed, and that will last longer than crushed grain. So, you know, an immediate perk there. Another benefit is I've had some, well, varying levels of crush from different suppliers. So one of my last beers, I got 80% efficiency. Next beer, using crushed grain from a different supplier, I got 60% efficiency, which for my American Pale Ale, it takes about 4 kilos of Maris Otter. And, you know, with a 60% efficiency, it meant I'd need to use an extra kilo. So that's £2 more in terms of money for the beer. And while that's not a big amount, it soon mounts up. Because for a 25 kilo sack, 4 kilos for the beer, I could make 6 batches of American Pale Ale. But having to use 5 kilos, I'm only getting 5 batches. So there is that. Now, because I got 60% efficiency, and it was the grain's fault, I decided to get this. It's I think it's American made, the Barley Crusher. Now I could have got a cheap Chinese one for 60 quid, but I opted to get this second hand and got it off eBay for £30. So, pretty self-explanatory. 2 rollers in there. These 2 things here operate the depth, the gap between the rollers. Now I tried rotating them by hand and obviously no give. So I thought about getting some pliers, but I didn't really want to destroy it, so I had a quick look online, and you actually have to just loosen off these 2 screws here. Don't have to go far, just a little loosen. And now we can adjust the depth. Now, some people online use feeler gauges, some don't, they do it by eye. Now, I'd recommend getting feeler gauges because you want the gap either side to be the same, and you know, doing it by eye is pretty hard. So these are just for spark plugs, get them off Amazon for a couple of quid. Now, the width of the gap, that really depends on the grain. Obviously grains come different sizes, and it also depends on the system you're using. So if you're using like a grain father or a mash tun, you require the crush to be a little bit coarser. You want the husks to be pretty much intact, because they'll act as a filter. If you grind it too fine, then you're going to get a stuck sparge and a stuck mash. And I've had one before, and it was the most frustrating, annoying thing ever. So we don't want that. But learning what the good crush looks like sort of takes a bit of experimentation. So I think it's 39 hundredths of an inch to about 30 hundredths of an inch that people recommend generally for your 2-row base malt. So, you know, start at the highest and work your way down and just see what it looks like. So this is the grain as it came, although I've done a bit of grinding to it. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of whole husks in there that have just not been crushed at all, hence the low efficiency. Now this is ground at 39 hundredths of an inch, and the husks are pretty whole and they're all crushed. Now if you're using brew in a bag, you can go for a finer crush, and people recommend about 25 hundredths of an inch. And you can see here more flour. The husks are actually shredded instead of being intact, so you'll get a higher efficiency with that. So it's all a balancing act of efficiency and what your system can handle. Like my mash tun, if I go too fine, it's just going to get stuck, so that's a big no-no. So now operating the machine, really simple. Comes with a handle with an Allen key, so you just need an Allen key to put that on or take it off, as I did. Just need the screwdriver obviously for loosening the gap and tightening it, and feeler gauge, or you've got a little mark on the Barley Crusher here which is about 39 hundredths of an inch, which is doing a good job for me. Now what I did, I fired the grain in, pulled the trigger on the drill and watched the grain go down into the bucket, and at 39 hundredths of an inch there was still loads of whole husks uncrushed. So I dropped it down to 35 hundredths, did the same again, loads of it uncrushed. I dropped it down to 3 hundredths, again, loads of it uncrushed. And at that point, it being the finest sort of setting that people recommended, I thought something's going wrong here. And I actually looked in the bucket and I realised what my problem was. So I'll show you. So first I'll set it to 39 hundredths. Okay, so grain loaded, fire the drill. And this is where I realised what my problem was. You can see there, firing this drill, the roller is going away from the other roller, and it's dragging the grain up under the flange down into the bucket, and actually nothing's getting crushed. Now if I run the drill in reverse, the roller runs towards the other roller and we get a good crush. So it hadn't even occurred to me that I wanted to be running the drill in reverse. It wasn't until I looked closely to see what was going on. And what I've realised is, looking at the photos online, the Barley Crusher's sticker is here. So what has happened is the previous owner has swapped the roller around, so it now needs to be run in reverse. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're buying a second-hand unit. Just check when you fire it before you put any grain in that the roller is going inwards and not outwards. So I'll just stick some photos up now so you can see the difference between what the grain looked like, what it looks like with a better crush, and then ground too fine for a mash tun really, but it will work well for brewing the bag. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video, hope it helps you out. Certainly boggled my mind for a bit when I just couldn't get it to work, but definitely a worthwhile investment for anyone doing their home brew, because like I've found, you know, you can buy a 25 kilo sack of grain and, you know, you're just going to have to use way more than you need. And at least if you got one of these, you're going to make sure you get a consistent size grist that will work for your system, and you'll be able to maximise the efficiency. Alright, see you on the next one. Cheers.